Hello everyone, this is Melanie from Marcus Evans. Thank you all for attending today's webinar brought to you in partnership with INX International. Before we begin, I would like to cover a few housekeeping items. As you can see at the bottom of your screen are multiple application widgets you can use. All the widgets are resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to get the most out of your desktop space. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can submit them through the Q&A widget. We will try to answer as many as possible, but if a fuller answer is needed or we run out of time, we will make sure to follow up with you in a separate email after the webinar. A copy of today's slide deck and additional help materials are available in the resource list. We encourage you to download any resources or bookmark any links you may find useful. At this point, I would like to briefly introduce you to our moderator. Joining us today, we've got Mike Bryce, VP of Sales and Business Development at INX International. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Appreciate that. And I want to welcome everyone to INX's webinar series. This one, packaging as the first line of defense, employing brand protection and anti-counterfeiting. And I want to thank everyone for attending on behalf of INX and VerifyMe and Diageo. We look forward to a great webinar. Brief agenda. We'll do a quick panel intro, then we'll review the objectives of the agenda. We'll have a panel discussion, then we'll end with a Q&A from the audience. Just briefly about INX. We're a global manufacturer of high-performance printing inks and coatings for the commercial packaging and digital print applications. We have full-service locations in Europe, South America, and North America. We're dedicated to driving increased sustainability throughout the value chain. We focus on collaborative efforts with our partners like a VerifyMe and like a Diageo, a brand owner, so we can deliver solutions that positively impact the bottom line of all involved, whether it be the brand owner, the printer converter, and the end consumer. And again, while we're ensuring safe and secure products. Again, my name is Mike Bryce. I'm your moderator, VP of Sales and Business Development at INX. And I'd like to introduce our panel. We have Keith Goldstein, who's the Chief Operating Officer of VerifyMe, and Sumanta Singha, who's a Senior Manager of Diageo out of India. Keith, would you just give us a brief intro, please?
Certainly. Thank you, Michael, and a pleasure to be here. Again, my name's Keith Goldstein. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for VerifyMe, where I head up operations in product strategy and development. I've been with the company for around 3.5 years, where I've built out a lot of the solutions that we now offer to the marketplace. Prior to that, I spent about 20 years in the security print space, where I worked for a company known as American Banknote, where we produced passports, national IDs, driver's licenses, credit cards, and things of that nature, from a long line of security printing and understanding how to secure documents, credentials, and now, of course, packaging. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith. Sumanta, would you please a brief intro?
Thanks, Mike. Hi guys. I'm Sumanta Singha here from Diageo. Here I do look after brand protection technology platform for Diageo India brand. And I am here with Diageo for since 7 years. And earlier I used to work with paints industry, then pharma industry, then cosmetics industry. So I've started this journey in 2003. Almost 17 years I'm working in this domain. My subject matter expert is packaging development and brand protection. So that is about me, and I do look forward to have an awesome season. Over to you, Mike.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that. And again, everybody's bios more in depth are when you get this download this presentation, you'll be able to read in greater depth. Again, thank you. Our goal today, again, is packaging is the first line of defense, brand protection and anti-counterfeiting. We'll show how utilizing novel technologies to combat counterfeiting and diverted products will show how preventing imitation of products will protect a brand's reputation. Ultimately, the goal is to safeguard the customer from a health and safety perspective and those risks. And again, anything that goes in or on the body is the focus. There are special effects that brands can use for differentiation, and all this will create new opportunities for consumer engagement. And again, we look forward to your questions at the end of the presentation. So our first question is, what challenges are IP owners facing in curbing counterfeiting and product diversion? Keith, could you please speak to that?
Sure. So, VerifyMe obviously is not a brand owner ourselves. We provide solutions to brand owners. So my perspective will be, how we see brand owners and their printers and converters challenged to implement technologies, really. What we try to do is create an ecosystem that enables the brand to implement effective and cost-effective countermeasures to counterfeiting and diversion without adding prohibitive costs to their operations, right? So, we work very closely with INX International in coming up with methods to actually do that by putting in special taggants that would end up going into traditionally printed inks or digitally printed inks that could be provided to a brand's print providers or converters in a way that really, is implemented into their operations in a seamless way. Right. So, our goal is to allow a brand to put together a strategy that isn't obtrusive to their operations and doesn't add significant additional cost, overhead, or operational lead time.
Thank you, Keith. Samantha, what is, in your industry, specifically your company, Diageo, what challenges are you facing in curbing counterfeiting and product diversion?
Thanks, Mike. This liquor industry is a very counterfeit-prone industry, I'll say. And if I can talk about this part of world, what is happening in India. So counterfeit is a big threat for us, and there is some specific brand, the brands like which is the fastest moving, that normally the counterfeiter they target. So when you are selecting any kind of technology, the scary part is nobody wants to authenticate the product before buying it. If I talk about any consumable product, start from any biscuit or chips or liquor or whatever. So we can't expect before buying this product, consumer will check the authenticity. Maybe percentage is very low. It is single digit percentage. How we can engage consumer for this authentication journey? So it should be mobile based kind of technologies and all, and how we can consumer engagement part, how we can address through brand protection technology. So we are working with tag-in-based, code-based, fingerprinting-based kind of technology where it will be interactive. Interactive means once consumer will take it out the mobile, he or she is not going to authenticate the brand, but better than that, he or she should engage with the brand and can have different kind of experience. He or she will come to know about the product. Maybe the process will be authentication, but the end result will be something different. So that is the way we are trying to address this.
So if I understand, so you're seeing that a move more towards the consumer engaging maybe as a trend in brand protection.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Correct.
Keith, what trends are you seeing from being
and covert technologies onto the products, with the overt or the visible codes being used for consumer-based smart engagement? Really, just what Samantha said, and then the covert for brand inspectors to use in case any of those visible codes might have been tampered with in the marketplace or by bad actors. Those covert marks are there for the brand inspectors. And really, this strategy does a few things, right, for the brand, particularly when you're talking about the visible codes in the engagement, right? It allows the consumers to gain comfort and trust in the brand by allowing them to authenticate the product themselves just by using their smartphone and scanning a code, right? It expands the amount of brand inspectors, many-fold for a brand without adding additional overhead, because essentially the consumer becomes the brand inspector, right? And then it also allows that brand to engage with the consumer, which is providing them the ability to allow the consumer to have access to valuable product information, creating cross-selling capabilities or abilities, and interesting, right? So it also allows a brand to take some of their marketing dollars and almost kind of offset them to help with the brand protection and authentication program. So, that engagement piece does an awful lot for a brand, and that's a big trend that we're seeing.
Okay, thank you. And Samantha, so Keith, maybe you can. What other industries are you seeing where health and safety are showing the most interest in implementing brand protection strategies other than food and beverage?
Sure. So, at VerifyMe, we kind of coined the phrase "in the body, on the body," because that's really where we're seeing an awful lot of interest today in brand protection is something that is either going to be on your body or it's going to be consumed, right? And, while there's certainly counterfeiting in high-end watches or high-end handbags in consumer products like that, it's very likely the consumer knows they're buying something that's counterfeit, right? In fact, they're paying $15 and not $1,500 or $150 and not $15,000 for something, and they know that it's not real, and they're okay with that. And really, it's not going to have the opportunity to harm somebody, right? So that can't be said for markets like food and beverage, cosmetics, where you're putting something on your skin or around your eye, pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, and the newly growing, pun intended, cannabis and CBD related markets. So all these kinds of markets, right? Anything that, is going to be put on your body or ingested are really growth areas that VerifyMe is seeing for brand protection, right? And if you think about it, all of these products that I'm speaking of, not only do they end up going on your body or in your body, they have relatively high selling prices. So if a counterfeiter, was going to attack it, there's an opportunity for them to sell something at a relatively high price, perhaps less than usual, but a relatively high price, make a lot of money. And then, of course, there's significant consumer risk and brand risk if it's something that could harm the consumer. So those are the, it's it's really things that are in the body or on the body that we're seeing a drive towards brand protection today.
Right. And I mean, the economic impact of counterfeiting and piracy it's estimated to be in 2022, $2.8 trillion, the impact. That's, a GDP that's between India and the UK. So that's massive. So the opportunities to make a positive impact on that and improve the bottom line throughout the value chain is significant. So again, from what you're seeing from people coming to you, Keith, what are the key considerations when somebody's looking to develop a brand protection program?
Yeah, so I think it really is product specific, Mike. There really isn't a one size fits all approach to brand protection. Some of the things that always should be considered is the more layers of brand protection that you can add, the better off the brand and the consumer will be. And that goes back to what Samantha was saying about overt and covert codes and the product and the package and the brand protection strategy all needs to work together. Another great example would be, in the cannabis and CBD market, we're seeing a lot of use of tamper-evident labels, right? So in that case, not only do we want the consumers to be able to authenticate the product before they put it in their body, right? But to make sure that someone didn't put something that was not authentic, not the right product, not genuine, in a genuine box. So a lot of those products are using a tamper-evident seal that actually is sealing the edge of the package, that if removed, the consumer would know it was tampered with, and then they will actually scan a code on that product to know that what's in it is authentic, and they'll be the ones that's removing that code. So, every product has its own little nuance, and you've got to find the right strategy for that product.
Okay. We're seeing more of demand from the supplier side for security type of inks and coatings. And I appreciate your input on that, Keith.
Yes.
So maybe you can just add to, if you're able to hear what Keith was saying, when Diageo is considering a brand protection program, what are your key considerations? What are you looking to do?
Yeah, so thanks, Mike. So when you are developing any brand protection strategy, two things is important. Means you are doing for consumer-centric, you are doing for to your understanding how to authenticate the product, or you want to make it something consumer-centric. Consumer will authenticate your brand. Okay, so you're selecting any kind of technology, you should be very much clear what is the requirement you have. When I'm saying we, from user industry, suppose it is a liquor, it is a one chocolate packet. So you want there should be no disturbance in existing supply chain. Maybe there should be no disturbance in as is existing supply chain. My cost should not go up. Maybe some specific target I have, it should fit in that. And there should be no government approval you should not need. This is specifically liquor related issue. India is a media dark market. We are not supposed to put any kind of data carrier, which is QR code or any 2D code, which can promote the brand. So it is banned here, right? So we should not select such kind of technology where I need to get the approval from government. Okay, then it will be a lengthy procedure. So the strategy should be you want to involve your consumer to protect the brand. Then you need to work in the functional parameter of the product. Actually, consumer is opening the cap and consumer how is consuming it after consumption, how he or she disposing it. You need to know the pattern. So that you need to know thoroughly. As for liquor industry concerned, so there are three kind of scenario is there. One is the remake. When the remake scenario is something, they are making everything at their end. When I'm saying they counterfeiter, they are making everything at their end. Even though it is a patented design, still they are making it. Okay, that means there is a no cash related issue. That there is a cash rich, right? And then there is a reuse scenario where they are doing something. They are playing around with the packaging material. They're taking out the cap and refixing it back. That is the way they run the show. And the third one is a mix and match. So mix and match is partly belongs to company and partly counterfeiter. They are making it at their end. When suppose they are buying a shampoo bottle from scrap dealer, they ensure the front and back label should intact with the bottle. Only they need to make the cap. So they can run the show. So that is the when I'm saying they counterfeiter, counterfeiter can run the show. So that is the way they run this. The counterfeit pattern. So you need to know the pattern of the counterfeiter. Accordingly, you can select the technology. Then only it will work as a entry barrier. First of all, you need to equip your investigator. They should be capable enough. They should be equipped enough to authenticate the brand instantly. So that will be helpful. That will be you can speed up your enforcement process. The second, in the functional parameter, what kind of cap you can develop, what is very difficult to replicate, what kind of technology you can bring in where consumer will have wow experience. Maybe suppose if I say just take it out the mobile and hold the mobile in front of the pack and something will come out in your display. So it is a brand promotion kind of stuff. But the way it will start, the process is the authentication process. The video will on once it is an original product. So that is the way, if you can do something, that will be better. So when you are selecting this kind of brand, there is a lot of roadblocks. If it is a not app driven, then it is better. If I say, if you go to any supermarket, if you want to buy something, you need to download some specific app. Maybe nobody will do it. So it should not be app driven. It should be very easy to have a experience of this kind of pack. The packaging should be interactive. So that is the way you need to select your brand and you need to develop your brand strategy and all.
Well, thank you. So if I understand correctly, then also there's an opportunity that by promoting that you have some kind of brand protection strategy, or you've implemented some brand or security protection in your packaging, it's actually a selling feature because you're ensuring a safe and secure product and that it's authentic.
Yeah, means brand protection, you can use it as a marketing tool also. So no need to tell the consumer, you need to scan it, then you can come to know the authenticity of the product, then it is scary. So you just scan it, you can have a recipe of the product, something you'll get, some kind of experience you will get. That is the way maybe it will work, rather than to check the authenticity of the product.
Okay, thank you.
In the print, okay. It is a dry offset, it's a gravure, it is a top embossing is there, micro embossing is there, micro text is there. This kind of noise can be replicated. We are just buying time, okay. We are just buying time, and that time is very short. If I achieve preprint, there is a technology where, suppose if I talk about fingerprinting technology in the printing, okay, where in the fingerprinting technology, it captures existing noise. Means what? Suppose one brand, one shampoo brand is there, and there is a sticker is there. So in that sticker, there is some kind of alphabet is there, some kind of text is there. So what this fingerprinting does, it captures the anomalies of the printing, which is natural, which is very, very natural. So this fingerprinting, they zoom in 200, zoom in they do, and they capture these anomalies in the printing, and they can generate some UID, unique identification number, and it will go to cloud. So once you hold the mobile in front of the normal pack, so it can just check in the cloud, and it can tell you the authenticity of the product. That means in fingerprinting, what they are doing, they are not adding any noise. If I say tag-and-paste technology, we are adding noise and we are reading it. But in fingerprinting, they are capturing existing noise. From there, they can authenticate the product. So that is the way it works. The fingerprinting, what is the problem is the fingerprinting is I'll say in the mass production, it will help. And if you have a multiple vendor, Suppose if I talk about us, we have multiple vendors, right? We are distributing from maybe 11 or 12 vendors we have. So then it is a problem. Then if we have a single vendor who is catering entire your factory, then you can fix this fingerprinting technology, you can fix. But if you have a multiple vendor, then handling of this kind of machine, which is very much sophisticated, anything can go wrong. The camera is very expensive, so then it will be a problem. If it is a single source based packaging material, then you can work with fingerprinting and you can get a good experience out of it. So that is the way it works. As far as the printing technology concerned and the packaging concerned, fingerprinting, I believe, will be the future and it work with.
Okay, so you also helped me answer the other question about the future of brand protection. You're looking at possible what you call fingerprinting is a consideration. Keith, what?
Yeah, it's a consideration. If you want to engage. Sorry, extremely sorry for that. But if you want to connect with the consumer, then the fingerprinting may be one of the ways. Okay, it is a covert technology. Or if you want to introduce fingerprinting for consumer-centric technology, your investigator can read it. Then also it is fine. But I believe fingerprinting will work in covert technology based where company wants I need to authenticate my brand, where fingerprinting will fit. But if you want to reach to consumer, then it is very difficult because all the fingerprinting technology, it is app-based. You need to download the app. You need to have specific device. Your camera specification means it will work in iPhone 11 or Samsung Galaxy S9 or something. So it depends on the software and the camera specification. Those things are very complicated. Then the number of consumer, how many consumer can use this kind of technology? It is a big question mark. But as a covert technology, fingerprinting, you can use it. Yeah, you can check your product.
Thank you. So, Keith, with VerifyMe, some of your technologies are more based for the inspector employed by the brand owners, so to speak. So, what kind of technologies does VerifyMe present to the brand owners?
Sure. Interestingly, Samantha and I are very much aligned in our thinking. And what I would say is, the kind of print technologies used on packaging to minimize losses, your question, well, it really depends on the type of packaging to be protected. And if the brand wants to deploy a consumer-based strategy, a brand inspector-based strategy, or perhaps both, right? And if we're talking about consumer-facing strategies, then we're talking about usually putting on something that's machine readable. It's a QR code that can be read with a smartphone. Maybe it's an NFC tag, although we see that used less often because there's a significant cost component as compared to just printing a code. Now you're using a piece of silicon, you're using a chip, so it's a higher cost item. And then to Samantha's point about apps, right? I mean, the less apps you need to use for a consumer to engage with that code, right, for a consumer-based strategy, the better off you are as a brand. You want to take as much friction out of that process of authenticating the product as you can. If you are going to require a consumer to download a custom app or to do something extra to be able to engage with that package, right? Well, the likelihood of them doing that becomes a lot less than perhaps just opening up their camera, which they're using, 100 times a day anyway, right? So that's kind of the consumer-based focus, right? And then, depending on the package, depends on what you're going to put on that from a consumer perspective. We talked about tamper-evident labels. Those are popular when you're trying to secure a package, whether it be, a box of PPE masks or PPE gloves or CBD vape cartridges, like we talked about earlier. Now, on the covert side for a brand inspector, right, the same can be said, that if you're using a digital printing press, the opportunity to put down covert codes using secure pigments that are invisible to the human eye, and doing that in a dynamic way that a brand inspector can read with a device, usually with a smartphone, light up that special ink and decode it and authenticate something and track and trace it. That's certainly something that's getting traction in the marketplace. But from a production perspective, there's a little bit of friction there as well, because not everyone has digital printing presses available today, right? So if that's the case, there are other ways that brands are doing similar things where they're using conventional print methods, whether it be gravure or flexo, offset, silkscreen, and they're able to put these special covert pigments into their existing print processes, print them as part of the packaging someplace. No one knows it's there but the brand and their inspectors. And then there are devices that VerifyMe and other companies provide that the brand inspector can quickly use that, knowing where this covert feature is on the package, and quickly ascertain if it's an authentic product.
Okay, thank you. So what both of you also said, talking about apps, and it's also the brand owner ensuring a good customer experience, so that, and that the protection really has to be, and insurance and authentication has to be before it gets on the shelf, so that the customer is assured that when they open that bottle of whatever it is, or any product, that it is authentic. And again, so that they don't have to go to great lengths just to ensure on their own. So I appreciate both your inputs on that. And where do you see the future going, Keith, in brand protection technologies?
Sure. And again, Samantha and I are very much aligned here. What I would say is really the short game and the long game to consider here. And how long each game is really going to be dependent on the acceleration of technology. In my opinion, the short game is really what's being done now, combining overt and covert methods, and perhaps having those covert methods be deployed more and more digitally as digital printing comes more mainstream. So, rather than putting down a covert static mark, you're putting down a covert dynamic mark, and you've got an inspector with a device able to authenticate that to the cloud and track and trace it. We do that today, and that's very important, particularly in the case of product diversion, where if there's a visible code, whether it be a chip or a printed mark, it's very common for the bad actors to deface or remove those marks and then divert that product to a market it doesn't belong in. The brand then really has no recourse to know where that diversion is occurring. If they're putting down a covert serial number or QR code and they have devices that are able to read that, if the brand inspector in that market finds that product, they can quickly figure out where it was originally sent to, who diverted it, and start to shut down that diversion, right? So that's kind of the short game. The long game, I'm completely aligned with Sumanta. To me, the holy grail is for a consumer and inspectors to be able to authenticate and track and trace product all by itself with no visible or invisible marks, okay? And really, if you can think of the power of computers and cell phones and how quickly they're advancing. So as the power of computers and optics, cameras, right, continue to increase, this notion of just authenticating and tracking and tracing the product by itself, well, that becomes a really, a real proposition, where every printed object, right, really does have a unique fingerprint, like Samantha said. The grain of paper coupled with the laydown of the ink, or the cross grain of plastic in combination with the laydown of an ink, etc. Those combinations all represent a very unique combination all by themselves, right? And as the power of cameras and computers increase, you could envision having high-powered cameras and super fast computers imaging these products on a production line or on a filling line, if it was a bottle of alcohol, let's say, and imaging every one of these products, storing it in the blockchain, in the cloud, and then later, with a super high-powered smartphone and a camera that maybe is 10, 20, or 30 times better resolution than today, consumers just going to take their phone, bring it to that product, and immediately authenticate it. I think that's the long game, and that's kind of where it's headed. It may be 10 years, maybe longer, but I think that's where we're going.
Okay. Samantha, anything to add to that? Appreciate your input.
Yeah, I'm totally aligned with Keith. Yes, totally right. It means that when you're talking about future brand protection technology, it means you should have a covert feature. First of all, you should have covert feature to identify your own brand. Okay, and that should be digital kind of covert feature. Through mobile or through device, you should read it and to identify the product. If you introduce this kind of technology, what will happen? Your speed of enforcement will increase, and that is good for it. And the second, I'll talk about the overt feature. When you're talking about overt feature, think about when you are making specification of any packaging material. Suppose you are in NPD, new product development. When you are writing down the specification, you need to ensure the brand protection part. So there should be some kind of complexity which company can handle, but counterfeiter can't handle. You need to select that kind of technology. When putting one sticker on the bottle is very easy. Why we should go for such kind of technology where when the bottle will come out from the mold, the label will embedded in it. So then it will work. Some kind of complexity you need to embed in the specification when you are selecting any kind of packaging material. So why not a super secure pack like Tetra? You have a lot of things. You have aluminum can. So can you use that kind of format? It's very difficult to counterfeit. So that is a functional parameter. Once consumer is opening the cap, something should happen, and it's very difficult to replicate. So those kind of functional parameter you need to work it out. And the third is the most important thing, what it was telling, that is the long-term strategy could be, once you just, suppose if you think about one vodka bottle, if you buy it, just take it out your mobile and hold your mobile in front of the bottle, open your camera, and it can tell you the journey of the brand, it can tell you how many cocktails you can make, so many things you will come to know in one scan, okay? And maybe some instant gratification also you can pass on to consumer. Okay? So that you can do, that engagement can happen. But that kind of technology, what is the problem? It should not be app driven. So how it can work? See, if you think about existing scenario in each and every smartphone based consumer, if I think about me, in my mobile, I'll have three kind of app. Okay, one is app like wallet app, some kind of wallet app I'll have. The second, I'll have some kind of app where you can buy the groceries and all, like Amazon and all. And third, you can have cab booking app. So these are three common app we'll have in each and every mobile. How this kind of app can help to authenticate the product? If you want to target larger audience, if you want to target if you want to target, I'll say the footprint should be high, then you need to target the brand and the app which is already there in their in customer mobile. Like to Amazon, if you just open the Amazon app, there is a camera. Open it, you can identify the brand. There is a wallet. You just open the wallet app, and there is a camera, and you can scan the brand. So that is the way. Then you can reach to larger audience. Or else your camera, as Keith was saying, once you open your camera, automatically it should scan. That will happen, as he said, maybe after 10, 15 years we can think about. right now, we need to work with that kind of companies like Amazon, or if it is Uber cab booking kind of stuff. Most of the guys, they have this kind of app in their phone. So there will be a one camera option will be there. Just open it, you can scan the product. So that is, and also you can keep some kind of gratification same time. Okay. So that is the way you can engage your consumer. If I think about this digital platform, which will work as an overt feature.
Well, thank you. I appreciate. Thank you very much, both of you. I'd like to go to the our Q&A and field any questions. Oh, sorry. So why do governments require serialized QR codes that contain the batch number in the QR code when the whole intent of serialization is to register the reading with a cloud-based database? The questioner's issue is to add batch data requires a precise printer on the packaging line, and this, in his mind, is wasteful. I think serial numbers should be printed on the label and only registered to the batch information when packaging is done. Samantha, can you answer that, please?
Yeah. So yes, you're right, Ms. If I understand correctly about the questions, why do we need some specific printer to print this kind of digital code? So if I think about as is scenario, anyhow, we are doing the batch coding where you are putting your batch number, date of manufacturing, and all kind of things you are doing, inkjet printing or laser printing, something you are doing. So if the same kind of infrastructure if I use, then it will be helpful. So I don't know if you talk about, okay, you need to print some kind of QR code which is non-clonable, and for that you need to put special printer at line, then it will be a capex heavy project. Okay, why do you need that kind of stuff? So if we can able to print the same QR code which is non-clonable through existing infrastructure, like if I have IJP, inkjet printing machine, if I have laser printing machines, whatever the printing machines we have, if that machine is capable enough to do that kind of work, then maybe it makes sense. So I don't know, it will be a capex heavy project if I go for this kind of non-clonable QR code. You can pitch in if you want to say that.
Okay, thank you. Keith, anything to add to that?
Yeah. So I agree. It would be capex heavy, right? And I don't know if we're talking about U.S. governments or other governments, but I think they're probably looking at best practice, right? And best practice, in my opinion, is if you're going to put a QR code down, the best place to do it, notwithstanding the capex requirements, is at that last point of manufacture, right? And if you're going to do that, well, then you're already dynamically printing it. So why not embed as much intelligence in that at that point of manufacture? Alternatively, you could just have rolls of these labels that would end up getting applied, but now you're creating risk to the supply chain of managing that rolls of labels and making sure they're not destroyed, making sure they don't end up in the wrong hands. So, in my mind, yes, I agree with Samantha. It adds capex, but it's best practice, and that's probably why governments look to do that, and put that lot and date information in the QR codes.
And also for a company's their own track and trace, ensuring that if there's any issue with the product, they can determine, the batch and lot number with the product in question, and then do any kind of internal investigation to ensure that the product met, its specs when it was produced and shipped. So I appreciate both your input on that. Another question just came in. Are you seeing an increased amount of activity in counterfeiting with the increase in online shopping? So, Keith, if you want to hit that one first, please.
Sure. I mean, the answer is absolutely, right? So today you can buy anything you want online. You know, it wasn't quite that way 5 years ago, and it absolutely wasn't that way, 10 years ago. Everybody's doing it on their computers and even more now on their cell phones, right? And, you can buy anything from anywhere and have it at your house, or your office 24 hours later. And, the reality is oftentimes you don't know where it's coming from, right? So it's absolutely on the increase with online shopping. And to put some scale to the size of the problem, and I think you said this earlier, Mike, that there are estimates that, counterfeit goods will come to about $2.8 trillion in 2021, all right? And that would make counterfeiting the 6th largest economy in the world by GDP. I mean, it's massive, right? There are estimates that 1 in 20, a 1 in 20 risk that you'll likely buy a counterfeit good. So if you go online and you buy something, right now they're saying there's a 1 in 20 chance that that's counterfeit. And I would contend that these numbers, which are a little dated, right, that they're substantially undervalued, especially given the explosion of online shopping over the last 12 months with COVID around the world. So yeah, I guess I've said it many times. Absolutely, it's on the rise.
Great points, Keith, and thanks for again echoing what I said earlier about that the scope of counterfeiting and piracy, and obviously that gives us opportunities to impact that from a vendor, supplier, and brand owner point of view. Samantha, what do you see from an online perspective?
Yeah, I'm totally agree with Keith. Yes, it's increasing. And if I refer 2020, it's a tough time. Most of the guys, they depend on online product, okay? And that time, yes, this counterfeiting issues was very high. And it is a big concern. It's a big concern how you can ensure your supply chain when you are going for a reputed brand, how you can ensure your supply chain. So it is increasing, and I believe a company should take some kind of differentiation in online shopping and on direct shopping. So if it is online shopping, you need to have some kind of stuff, track and trace, or some kind of technology in the back where consumer can authenticate or can have different kind of experience through the back. So it is increasing, and we should think about something. If it is online, if we are getting it, then we'll have to have some kind of digital marker on the back.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And we're actually almost at our time limit here, so I unfortunately do not have time for any more questions. But if you want to email me, please do, and we can get those answered after the broadcast. And I do appreciate Samantha Singh from Diageo and Keith Goldstein from VerifyMe for your time and your commitment to this. I do appreciate it. I think it was most informative, and I think our audience definitely gained some insight as to the problem, the challenges, and the solutions that are out there, and a path forward. And we talk about a commitment to this. INX is committed to consumer safety and brand protection, and but also in reducing operating costs, and through the partnerships we do have, like with VerifyMe and with brand owners like Diageo, we can keep the cost of the solution low, so that the entry into this can be done with existing equipment in a printer or a converter's facility. So that will ensure that we can make a big dent into this looming issue that we have of counterfeiting and piracy. So again, I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate everybody's input and appreciate the audience giving us your time. We look forward to seeing you in our next webinar series. Thank you very much. Malini?
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you all for sharing these great insights and for being so generous with your time today. A reminder to our audience to look out for an email within the next 2 hours with links to download today's material. We would also like your feedback, so if you could take a minute to answer our very brief survey that will pop up on your screen at the end of the session, that will be very much appreciated. On behalf of INX International and Marcus Evans online events, we would like to thank you all for joining us, and we do hope that you will be listening at our next webinar. Thank you.